I'm not sure how many in this sanctuary have seen The Last Jedi. Could take a show of hands. I don't know. Oh, good, that's good. Okay, so I won't spoil it for you crazy people who haven't seen it yet. But really, what are you waiting for? It's so good. In any case, the Force is explored in this movie as it is in all Star Wars movies. In the Star Wars universe, the Force is the energy field that surrounds and penetrates everyone, connects everyone, a source of light and power that highly sensitive individuals are able to use to effectuate change in the world around them. In the fantasy world of Star Wars, characters learn that reaching for the Force is a more powerful response to a problem than reaching for their weapon. There are so many forces that pull at us in our lives. The yearning to own things, the yearning to be seen a certain way, being the first one to know about something, having an impressive resume, winning, making a lot of money. And these forces may even give us gratification in a moment. But we all know, I believe, that they are not the forces that give us lasting satisfaction, and they are not the forces that endow our lives with true meaning and true purpose. As a rabbi, one of our greatest honors, and I know that I speak for our team, is accompanying families in those intimate moments after someone has died. And time again, I learn from you, from our congregation, from each family that I'm privileged enough to sit with, that when people die, what their loved ones remember most is how the one they've lost connected to the most godly and greatest values and ideals we know of. How they connected to, if not the force, then the forces of good and blessing that shape our lives. How persistently they stood up for justice. How freely they gave compassion to people. How bravely they faced adversity. How deeply they loved. These are what we remember of them. The book of Exodus begins this week, and the story of the Israelites' redemption from Egypt is a potent reminder that the world is made better on a grand scale through the personal acts of individual people who reach for those most powerful forces in our shared lives together, making the conscious choice to connect to the biggest and most transcendent values we know as human beings, and to bring those values into practical application in their lives. One of the first named characters in the book of Exodus are two women, Shiphrah and Puah, two midwives you may not have even heard of, who resist Pharaoh's order to kill all the male Israelite babies upon delivery. Instead, though, these two women let them live, and in doing so risk their own lives. Righteousness, like that, is a lofty idea, but Shiphrah and Puah connect to it in this parasha. They bring it to earth, they hold it in their hands, and they save the lives that are right in front of them. Pharaoh's daughter finds an Israelite baby floating in a basket on the Nile, a baby she knows that her father has ordered executed. But instead of letting a baby Moses float by or turning him in, she keeps him, and she gives him a home, and she raises him with love as if he were her own child. Compassion is an attribute of God, but Pharaoh's daughter reaches for it, and she gives it life in the most practical of ways and bestows it on this child in need. Moses is a fugitive of the law in this parsha. A shepherd with no formal training in anything, really, and is being called to action by God's voice emerging for him from a bush that's on fire. He is terrified by his own admission, but instead of ignoring the call and giving in to his fear, he heeds it and he returns to the place of his worst nightmares in order to be God's messenger, an instrument of redemption. Courage is the highest of values, but Moses, even in his very famous humility, finds a way to live it anyway. And mumbling and stumbling along, he makes his way to Egypt to speak before Pharaoh. Judaism is relentless in its insistence that there is more to life than having, more to life than seeming, more to life than winning. But that's why redemption is brought about by individuals like these in our parsha who make personal decisions that are hard for them, but that are made in the face of great personal risk and in defiance of surrounding pressures and trends, choices that are countercultural in the most extreme way. The Talmud teaches that a person should say a prayer upon entering or leaving the Beit Midrash, the house of study, a daily occurrence for devout Jews of that time. Upon entering, a Jew should ask for God's support that she neither offend nor mislead anyone in her participation in the community of learning. That's what she says when she goes in. Upon leaving, she should say thank you to God for giving her purpose rather than letting her live in frivolity. Essentially, the Talmud teaching is that having the everyday opportunity to strive for connection with the highest ideals is a gift for which we should thank God. A gift. Having the choice, having the chance to choose upstanding over bystanding, like the midwives do in this parsha, is a gift. Having the chance to choose compassion over cruelty, as Pharaoh's daughter does in this parsha, is a gift. Having the chance to choose courage over fear, like Moses does in this parsha, is a gift. Incorporating these values into our lives on a daily basis is the way we give our lives purpose and meaning that is eternal. It is not always glamorous. In fact, it hardly ever is. And it doesn't always give us fame and fortune. In fact, it's often undervalued by the masses around us. But reaching out for life-giving forces that connect us to God and to each other, grasping those values and breathing life into them and letting them breathe life into us is the way we bring freedom into the world. It is the way we shape humanity for the better. And it is the way we leave the house of study every day and our lives at the end of them, full of gratitude for the chance to play a part in one of the greatest stories ever told. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Shabbat Shalom.